right,
morning.
we're not
Yeah.
gonna start for about
And
4 more
he's
minutes,
gone.
but I'll go ahead and
I'll
put
just-
you on speakerphone.
Talk a little bit about how she
Alright.
wants to claim credit because she printed so much macaroni and
Yeah,
cheese.
that's
And Thomas
Elaine,
says,
can you hear me?
and
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear.
Maybe like the fish tail.
Right, we'll start here in about
Okay.
3.5
and
minutes.
Thomas says, not only that, but hot dogs.
You better not let that out, you'll destroy Mary's. No, I think she did.
Mac and cheese and
Hot dogs doesn't get any better than that, does it? I love that.
Not when you're a child. It's,
And chicken strips, that's it.
oh, yeah.
And going through the notes, I'm a little bit confused. When he first went out there, did he go as the
Yeah, they're
executive chef,
gypsy.
or was he a cook and then became the executive chef? I thought he went as the executive chef, but in listening to what he discussed there, I'm not sure. So I've got to call him.
Oh, John
They have
and
that shorter
uh,
than
Kathy too,
um,
they probably know.
Yeah, well, I've got,
I wonder if she knows right now.
but I've got John's phone number, so
Oh,
I will
yeah,
use it.
go right to the horse's mouth, yeah.
Why would Schneers know?
Aunt and uncle,
Oh, I think.
Um,
Oh, I didn't realize that.
John McNulty and Mary Ellen, their brother and sister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh, I don't
Yeah,
have a
no,
calendar.
nothing
I'll be right
happened,
back.
something happened.
No,
No.
he'd
McNulty.
grown up here.
Oh, had you?
Tony Francisco took his pharmacy training under Don's, forget his last name now, in Havre.
Chappelle or something.
And,
Yeah, Don.
and,
Bobel.
Bob,
Don Bobel.
okay, and Bernice was the secretary in the extension office in
Oh.
Havre when they were using apple crates for desks.
Oh, really?
Okay, and
kinda
then,
like in towns.
and then Tony came down here and John McNulty took his pharmacy training in Havre under the same guy.
Oh.
Okay, and then ended up down, because Tony was trying to get out and he ended up coming down here working and buying out Francisco.
Mm.
I think is how he
Well, that
ended up
sounds like
during the
good, yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And,
Boy, there were a lot of pharmacists around the state that took their training under Bob Hill.
yeah,
Bob Hill was
and
amazing.
he was still going strong. He retired when I went up there. He was retired about, I don't know, 95, 2000, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
We're talking about John McNulty and cooking for the vice president now, and he was back from 4-H Club Congress and told them the value of their records, and keeping good records.
Yeah, Bob Hill was an amazing man. He only required about 3 or 4 hours sleep a night. He used to get a shipment stuck in the store and have it. He'd load it in his station wagon and keep it on to his other store.
Thomas's discussion of the foods project was quite something there. He learned about fitness and health, but where was the cooking?
We'll start in
Yeah.
about 30 seconds, or 15, depending on when everybody's ready.
Yeah, I had a great admiration for Don Buck Hill.
Whatever happened, he just beat so long. That's the start.
Just when he closed his stores as the chains began to come in, he had a small chain. He had 10 stores or something.
Oh my
like that.
goodness, oh.
But
All right, we are going to call this meeting to order. It's July 22nd. And if everyone would stand with us and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you and good morning. A couple of little housekeeping issues. We have Elaine on the phone this morning. Welcome, Elaine.
Thank you.
And we are also videotaping these meetings. They are on YouTube, youtube.com, and if you just type in Broadwater County Commissioners, you can actually view these meetings live, not live, but online. So, in the interest of YouTube, whenever anyone has a comment, if you would please state your full name for the record. We know who you are, but the millions and millions watching us on YouTube might not. So, to start with, it is July 22nd. First on the agenda is Greg and Heather Norsby, the Toscan deeds. I don't see Norsby's here. There is an issue with those deeds, with the sale deeds from 1981 that Carly needs to get to the bottom of. So those will be postponed, hopefully just one more week. So, next up is the Commissioners' Community Update. Franklin, would you like to go first?
I come in for a board meeting and been canceled that morning, so they didn't call me and I found out about it the next day, so that's the only one I was in for.
What was that for?
Franklin, speak up, I can't hear.
Weed board.
And that was it for the week?
Yep.
All right. Elaine, do you have any updates for us?
I did have a call this morning from the sheriff's office about a fire in the south end of the county. Copper City is between 300 and 500 acres right now, but they're working very hard and feeling very good about being able to get it under control.
Thank you. I saw the smoke last night, Elaine.
I guess it was started because of people were target shooting, and it ricocheted and caused the fire.
Wow.
It goes to show how dry it really is.
Yeah, no kidding. Thank you for that.
I just have a note. Excuse me. Thank you.
All right.
Excuse me.
And Greg, I apologize, we do not have the quit claim deed. Apparently there is some issue with something that was done in 1981 over the sale deed. And Carla has a meeting tomorrow with another attorney that can help her with this. So hopefully next week we will have that for you.
What was the issue on?
Honestly, I don't know the details. I just know that there is some issue with the deed from 40 years ago. Something that wasn't done then, and she just wants to make sure she gets it done now.
Okay, on the street part, must be?
I don't know.
I don't know what
the
there's-
details.
What there's deeds on, they're just streets that haven't been acted upon by the commissioners, is what, everything that we've read. So,
You're welcome to stay. Otherwise, hopefully
yeah,
we'll have that for
well,
you next
probably
week.
not much else. Can you put me on for,
Absolutely.
10
I'm gonna
o'clock
have you
next
on
week?
at 10, Greg, until you get this
Alright.
done.
sounds good, thanks a
All right,
lot.
thank you. All right, anything else, Elaine?
No, other than my doctor still won't release me to drive or to come to the courthouse. They'll let me have a couple hours like now for the morning, but that's it. I can't. We're still running into some problems health-wise, and so I do the best I can.
Absolutely. And I think we would all like to see you heal up strong rather than too fast and then have any setbacks. So
Me too.
there's a lot of people pulling for you, Elaine, but
Well,
I'm glad
thank you. I
that,
appreciate that more than you know.
absolutely. For my week, had a couple of meetings. Agency on Aging, which is a 9-county board, met in White Sulphur Springs. And we had Christmas in July. They had over 70 people at their senior center for lunch last week in Little White Sulphur. We heard a presentation on a program called Step Up. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. But there's correlation to seniors falling and hurting themselves and ending up in the nursing home directly because of that fall. So Step Up is a $1,000 grant being offered from the feds to DPHHS, Department of Health and Human Services, to locals to actually put on this training themselves. They get training on how to do it. It's 2 people, a trainer and an advocate who works more one-on-one with the seniors. And it helps to improve balance so that people are able to stay home and uninjured longer. So something to talk to the senior center about. Also had a Board of Crime Control meeting. We're planning a conference for crime control, crime prevention in October. hopefully Jake will be there. And, as a law student.
Yep.
And, I've been asked to serve on the, JDAI board, which is Juvenile Detention, Alternatives Initiative. So, looking forward to that. And I will bring the local government perspective to that board, and Captain Nick Corthals with the Sheriff's Office also serves on that board, so Broadwater County will have two perspectives to offer. So that's it for me for the week. It is 10:08, so we'll go ahead and do some mail unless there's no more Commissioners' Community Update. All right. We'll do signature items first, if that's okay. And Franklin, I did make copies of all these for you, so that you'd have those prior to the meeting. This is, this is for next week. Oh, we also had Board of Board of Health that met last Monday. And what we will be addressing next week with the board, just to bring you two up to speed, is quite a while ago, we worked on some kind of a resolution to establish a notification to purchasers. We had a rash about 1.5 years, 2 years ago of people buying property and not realizing that there was an agriculture exempt on that property, which meant for somebody to build on their property, they had to go through the subdivision review process, which can be very costly, especially if it's just for one. And so this is just a resolution so that we ensure that people have every opportunity to be informed of what they're buying. And that will come before the board next week. And that is just because it needs to be noticed. So we have claims from last week. Those are the ones we looked at last week, the stack in front of you, it was the stack from last week. And we have two different claims vouchers here, one is for fiscal year 14 and the other is for fiscal year 13.
I'm gonna do this voucher here dated 7/16/2013 for $181,627.31.
Yeah, I'll second that, oh, I'm sorry. Elaine,
I'll second that.
thank you. It has been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims of July 16, 2013 in the amount of $181,627.31. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Question, why is it so high? What's on there that,
It has the county insurance on it for $123,000.
oh, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we have another claims. Here, this is the one for fiscal year 13.
I'll make a motion to pay this voucher date 6/28/2013 in the amount of $75,662.85.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to pay the approved claims from voucher date 6/28/2013 in the amount of $75,662.85. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, next we have a follow-up letter from DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, and this is regarding the water testing at the Silos Recreation Area. New this year is the silos are doing their own testing versus BOR, Bureau of Reclamation, doing the testing. And in speaking with DEQ, we are guessing that the lab has not received change in orders, so they're sending their results to BOR instead of DEQ. I did follow up with both the DEQ and Sharon Walker, who manages the Silos Rec area on this.
Yeah, 'cause this is a violation of it, Sharon. This was the second one, or?
It's the same one, it's the second notice. So, as soon as we get that figured out, I will let you guys, both know the details. We also have, First Premier Bank, this is the bank statement for the Broadwater County Trust Board. And, again, repeat from last month, we are going in the right direction. It looks like we are at 2.639 million. Those are actually, the information you're looking at there is, for the legalese. It's, back, there you go.
Oh, okay.
And I did print that off in total for you as well. Okay, it is 10:15, and we will be having a public discussion regarding comments on the proposed 35 mile per hour speed limits on portions of Quarter Circle Road. I'm gonna call Nicole to come and join us. Actually, I'll run and get her, since we have you on the phone, Elaine. I don't know if I can do both without losing one of you, but thanks, Ann. The homeowners have asked that we postpone this until the 5th of August, but since it is on the agenda, if there are any comments, we can certainly take those for the record and then address other comments on the 5th of August. And we'll just wait for our county planner to come and join us. Nicole, welcome and thank you.
I didn't get the math done. I'm working.
Okay, all right, then, I just kind of opened up the public discussion for the miles per hour. I think I'll just quickly ask for any comment and then we can move on to the petition for these,
Super.
regarding animals.
Okay.
All right, is there any comments on changing the speed limit on Quarter Circle Road? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's Tony Rigdon. I live at 20 Pole Creek, and I'm very much in favor of it.
Thank you. Did you sign the petition?
No.
Okay, we do have a petition. Is it too late to take more signatures? If you care to sign it, you're more than welcome to. Otherwise, we can just keep your comments on as public comment.
I'll sign it.
All right. Any other comments? One thing, just to let you guys know, is a county road that is not posted is actually officially a 70 per hour mile speed limit. So, changing this to 35 is essentially cutting it in half. but when you look at some of our county roads, you see kids riding bikes, people walking, runners, what have you. So 70 per hour vehicles on dirt roads, and bikers and kids walking sometimes do not mix. This was citizen driven by the citizens who live in this area and use this road. So we will revisit this and have a decision potentially on the 5th of August.
I'll have your map ready at that time.
Okay, thank
So
you.
can see the ones that have voted yes and where they're located.
That'll help. All right, so we will move on then to the afternoon appointment at 1:45. Our schedule does say these items and times are subject to change. Nicole Brown, planning potential ordinance regarding animals.
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna run grab it from my office. I just
Okay.
took this one with me. I'm gonna have Tony sign this while I'm out. Sorry, I can just pass it around. Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
We can go out and run around Paul Gray's place out there.
No, that's what I got. One, it's not a county road, two, it is posted at 25 miles an hour. That's the roads that the county has refused to accept responsibility for, so.
Thank you for doing that. There are two documents in here.
Okay.
There's one for you, and I'll make you a copy, and I'll get it to your office. So what I'm bringing before you today, I've been told that this has come before the commission before. Basically, I had a resident of our county come to me because she had a neighbor who had some dogs that were not covered and were not provided water. She wanted to know what the county ordinance was on this. So I looked everywhere, I went to Ann, there's nothing. We walked over to the sheriff's office and they have nothing. So I thought, I'm gonna try this again and see what the feeling of the commission and the public is on bringing forward some kind of, I would like to call it a public responsibility ordinance. And so that's what I've titled this, but we can change it to anything that the commission chooses. Animal cruelty is what the city uses, but I kind of feel that that's a little bit more harsh than what we want to get into. When I talked to Officer Harris about this, he was very much in favor of putting together an ordinance of this type. He says because they get frequent calls, the sheriff's department gets frequent calls of this nature, but they have no teeth to enforce it. They can simply make the call, or they can go and visit the homeowner who's not providing shelter or water or food to their animals and suggest that they do something. But again, that was just Officer Harris, it wasn't the entire police force. So I'm just gonna read this aloud for the public's pleasure here, and this is just a real quick and dirty document it's not official, there's no legal language in it. I just, I'm throwing this out there to see how everyone feels about putting together something like this. So I'm calling this the Broadwater County Animal Public Responsibility Ordinance. Item number 1, it is unlawful for any person to willfully and cruelly inflict pain upon or injure any animal. Number 2, all animals shall be kept in a safe and sanitary condition and shall be regularly fed and watered in a humane manner. Number 3, all animals shall be given the minimum protection from adverse weather conditions with specific consideration given to the species. Number 4, it is unlawful for any person to abandon any animal on any highway, railroad, or in any other place where it may suffer injury, hunger, or exposure, or become a public nuisance. It shall be unlawful for any person to keep or maintain a vicious dog. A vicious dog is any dog that, unprovoked, bites or attempts to bite a person that, unprovoked, has killed or injured another animal. The reason for adding the vicious dog item on there is because the sheriff's office does have a vicious dog. It's not an ordinance, but basically it's illegal for people to keep a vicious dog, according to Officer Harris. So I just thought I would add it to the same document. The other item that you have here, this is from the National Agricultural Law Center. This is just a list of Montana state statutes regarding animal cruelty. So these are actual statutes in Montana code. And so this document that I put together is a compilation of items from here, because I didn't want to cover everything, you know, I certainly don't want the sheriff's department to be out, you know, enforcing this, you know, and feeling like they're constantly responding to animal welfare issues. And then also from the city of Townsend. I took just a couple of items from the city of Townsend's animal cruelty ordinance and put them in here so that they mimic each other. When I spoke with the city, you know, they asked, are you considering having Randy, the current animal control officer, patrol the county? And I said, absolutely not, that's not what we're looking for. We're just looking for something for the sheriff's office to be able to say, you know, hey, there's an ordinance that you have to provide shelter, water, food to your animal, you can't abandon your animal on the highway. Just some minor, not really minor, but some minor things so that they're not out there constantly policing this issue. So.
Any questions or comments from the board?
No, it's too bad perception, more common sense would take care of all that stuff, you know.
All right, any comments or input from the audience? Mr. Bray,
I have
and if you would state your full
Oh.
name for the record.
I'm
Thanks.
Paul Bray, and I have a little bit of apprehension about item number 1 and the possible interpretations of that. Could someone shooting a gopher be accused of malfeasance or illegal activity under that purview? I think some thought needs to be given to the wording on that.
Good point, thank you. Tim?
Tim Ravendall, a little bit just concerned about a couple of the provisions. Mr. Brave pointed out one of them. Another one is abandonment of dogs on the highway. I raise hounds. I've had my hounds picked up on highway because people didn't know they were hunting. And I'd certainly hate to have that unintended consequence to be faced with a criminal charge for having my hounds out running and end up in the highway and getting picked up by someone or reported as an abandoned dog. And sometimes they do end up out without a collar, so it could end up being perceived as an abandoned dog, which in all essence it would not be. The other point that I'd like to raise would be I'm concerned at making sure that the wording throughout the whole process is documented and reviewed. So I would ask when or what time frame are you looking at in moving forward with this, and if there's going to be an official hearing or process afforded to the people to weigh in.
Do you mind if I respond to that?
No.
Being that this is an ordinance, it would have to go to a public hearing. So I would anticipate a public hearing maybe 3 weeks from today's date. After the public hearing, I would like the commissioners to wait another week before they adopted it. Obviously, it would go through our county attorney. Any ordinance or resolution must go through the county attorney for legal language. So through that three-week time period, it would give the county, the public, the county attorney enough time to to make sure that all of these concerns are addressed and that it's legal.
John, and don't forget to state your name.
John Wright. You know this thing about the vicious dogs? Anybody that's got a security dog in their place is vicious, or he's not worth a collared shot, and it should be shot. Now, how are you gonna deal with that? And then add that to the police department or our sheriff's department with the Canine Corps. How are you gonna deal with all of that to put this together where anybody's gonna find themselves with their property rights being violated?
Sure, and I think we can work on this. Like I said, this is just a real off the cuff list of items. This vicious dog issue, basically, as long as your dog is confined to your property, I don't know why that would be an issue. You certainly shouldn't have a vicious dog just out roaming around. If it's confined to your property, that's a whole separate issue.
Any other comments? All right, at this point, should we follow through with this, there will be a public process that we follow through with all ordinances. It will be noticed in the paper. We will expect comments, or accept comments, in writing, email, snail mail, US mail, or coming here to the public hearing over this subject. So any thoughts from the board at this point? What say you on moving forward with a process to wordsmith and put together a county ordinance for animal public responsibility?
You know, that's what I think, should, all right, and go through the process of 3 weeks or whatever, you know, like that.
Elaine, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I'm just learning about it.
Okay. So would, just to make it official, would either of you like to make a motion that we go ahead and proceed with the process to investigate, put together, and hear public comment on a animal public responsibility ordinance?
I was so moved.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to start a process to put together an animal public responsibility ordinance, and hold the public hearing with 3 weeks' notice, and work with our county attorney and county planner on this process. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Do you have a date or time so I can get the posting in the paper today?
Yes.
So 3 weeks from today would be, gosh, we're in August already, aren't we? August 12th?
Yep. And we have 10:45 and on.
Okay, let's take 10:45 then.
All right.
Probably a half an hour
I think
for
that
the
would be
public
good.
hearing.
Okay. And we kind of started with the other ordinances that we'll be addressing today, having them delivered for people to see at both the clerk and recorder's office, commissioner's office, and your office. Can we do that again
Yep,
too?
definitely.
Okay.
And if any of you would like me to email this, you can just stop by my office. You want it? Okay. And I'll just email it out, and then you can look over it and make any changes or suggestions.
Both copies of the
Do you want this
statutes
one
as
too?
well.
Sure.
Okay, it is 10:30. We're a little bit early, but since you're here, Nicole, you know, since these are public hearings, we should probably do it at the time specified. So could you come back at 10:45?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you're more than welcome to stay and listen in if you like.
I'll put this stuff together.
Would you mind asking Doug to come down?
For
On
the
your way.
10:45?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, for the, right now,
Right now?
to discuss,
Yep.
another issue with the canceled check.
Super.
Thanks. We have a big hole in the morning schedule, so, and we have an afternoon appointment that canceled. Since we have Mr. Wright here, I'm gonna move up some of our afternoon appointments, if it's okay with the rest of the board, so that we will be done at lunchtime today. Thanks for everybody here. What we have in the afternoon, Elaine, is the ordinance that we just finished with Nicole, John Wright, and Doug Ellis on the canceled check we discussed last week, and then a DOR lease agreement, and they, will be seeing us next week instead of this week.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a lot of the brochure here telling things, you know, that affect, like Jim's on the hounds and stuff like that.
Mhm. Hello, Doug. All right, again, our schedule says that these items and times are subject to change. So we are hearing our 2 o'clock appointment, which is John Wright, check apparently canceled. So Doug, can you fill us in on the rest of the story?
Yeah, one of Nyla Terrell's
Could
sons
Doug
came
speak
in.
up so I can hear, please?
We have Elaine on the phone. I'm gonna turn you around too,
Must be
Elaine.
Elaine. Yeah, one of Nyla's sons came in and submitted a check to us for the taxes on the property up Indian Creek, and went home and decided that he didn't want to pay those taxes for some reason, so he stopped payment on the check. So what we did was reverse the payments on the taxes, and the taxes are still due. The check has been stopped, so there's nothing we can do. That's just normal procedure that we do when someone stops a check. If it's on a tax, we can reverse the payment and makes the taxes still due, and their payment was stopped. There's nothing we can do about that. They have every right to stop the payment on a check if they don't wanna pay the taxes. They didn't receive any licenses or anything for the check that they sent us, so once they stop the payment, we just reverse the taxes. It's just like he never came in that day.
So the taxes are still pending?
Right.
And Doug, just for the interest of Mr. Wright, I'm just wondering if the reversed payment terminology isn't what caused the misunderstanding with this situation. Like you said, that doesn't mean that the taxes are no longer due and you didn't forgive them. It just means that
Right.
you reversed in your paperwork that you had received payment for those taxes.
Right, yeah, there was, no taxes were forgiven at all. The taxes are still due, and it's just, like I said, it's like he never came in that day. His check was canceled, so we canceled the payment. Taxes
So
are still
Doug,
due.
somebody could come in and take a tax lien on that, is that correct?
Right. Right, because our tax sale, well, and some of those were delinquent taxes. Our tax sale for 2012 was done last week. So they are all on the delinquent tax list.
Any other questions for Doug from the board at this point?
No, the only thing was, last week, somebody said that it was 20 days later, and I couldn't believe that, because checks go through so fast anymore, so, was there anything said on 20 days? Did you ever hear anything on that?
Just, might have been just the date on the check, but the day we got it in, we called Mr. Terrell to see what happened.
Mhm.
He said that he had stopped payment, so we reversed the taxes that day. In our office, it happened the same day. I don't know how long it took the bank to notify us. I could check on it, it might
Well,
have
no,
been.
that's, okay, wasn't there kind of a misunderstanding that it was 20 days, that the check was here for 20 days, something to that effect? Like I say, I didn't understand that, because checks anymore electronic go through almost instantly, you know.
Yeah, I'd have to check the dates and make sure exactly when.
Yeah, no,
But the day that we got the check in our office from the bank saying it had been stopped payment, we called him and took care of it that day.
And Mr. Wright, does this help you understand a little bit more what happened?
No, it doesn't. There's another question about the whole business, which comes up to this, of why the Terrells are involved in paying taxes to start with. I was prepared to pay the taxes, but I didn't make these agreements. Nyla Terrell made a conditional agreement with the state to increase the taxes up here tremendously. And I was waiting to see what Sean was gonna do, and now I'm in an obligation of possibly a tax lien possibility and a fact of interest and principles on the money. And this manipulation of the taxes being paid without informing me in advance, because Doug totally knew about it, and I want to know the exact day, according to statistics, when this check was made out by Sean Terrell, and when the actual check was stopped. I want this information right now for my records.
I can go grab it, won't take 5 minutes.
Okay. Thanks, Doug.
Meantime, it comes back to the issue of why all this is happening to start with. And there's a simple thing which has already been presented to the commissioners. There is a fraudulent deed, without a shadow of a doubt, and only a nitwit couldn't recognize a double deed from one Warren Schreiner to Nyla Terrell, but that was in 1999. He deeded all of his right, title, and interest to me in 1983, and it's all a matter of documents in that courtroom. How can this possibly happen? And Elaine's listening. She is the one that endorsed this fraudulent deed with malice and forethought, and it's easily proven. Now, why are we even talking about this? This puts the county in tremendous liabilities, or anybody that participates in it, conspiring with this fraudulent land fraud deed. And I can't understand how it ever got this far to start with, but it's here. And now it's got a little more nastier. Plus, the other fact of it is, Nyla Terrell is in an institution, insane institution in Oregon, and this is not her first time. She was in the LA County mental institution for 10 years and 2 months. Now, for the county to deal with somebody with this, like Ben Knapp says, a criminal record is longer than your arms, with heinous crimes, is far beyond me. But it has been harbored and protected by the county officials for whatever reason. Well, I know what the reasons are. A mining company called Pegasus and Apollo, and the cattlemen. Because she has attempted to take control of a property that was legally deeded to me. Now, Warren Schreiner, when he deeded this to Nyla, he was incompetent. He was in the convalescent home in Lewis and Clark County under lock and key. She checked him out and made a bogus deed, which she hand wrote herself with a perfect signature, had Pat Hooks notarize it, and then served it on Elaine as our county clerk of the records. And I intercepted that at 9:30 in the morning, and she didn't record it until 3:05 that afternoon.
Okay.
That
Doug,
is the
thank
crux
you.
of this whole problem. Now, how are you going to deal with that?
Thank you very much.
The check we received from Sean Tyrell was dated 6/21. The letter we received from his bank was dated July 1st. We gave him a call on July 1st. On July 2nd, we reversed the taxes.
All right, so we're looking at far less than 3 weeks on that. So about a week and a half. All right. So, thank you very much. Any questions from the board for Doug on this issue? I think it's pretty well cleared up.
No, it's
All
not.
right, thank you very much.
You ought to hear this, Doug, before. I went to the sheriff's department as soon as you brought it forward, and that was on the 10th. Now, how did you get these dates in between? That means you sat on it all this time without notifying me? I'm the one that you're punishing. Are you prepared to...
Mr. Tyrell was the one on the taxes. He's the one that paid the check. He's the one I notified.
Okay,
You've been to court on this. You and I have talked about this.
don't go into
You've
that,
got
Doug.
$1 million lawsuit up there on me, and I don't think we need to discuss it right now.
Well, you must, or
I'm
either
with Doug.
abandon your
John,
position.
thank you very much. We'll go ahead and proceed with the rest of the meeting then.
I want you to make recording that he just gave you a line, because on the 10th, I took this document to the sheriff's department and had it recorded.
John, I'm
When-
gonna ask you to sit down. There's a legal process to follow with these things, and Doug has followed it. So it is almost 10:45, we've got 4 minutes. until the 10:45 meeting. And we finished our mail. One question I have regarding the fire, Elaine, that you reported on this morning. Franklin, were you able to get a letter or any contact with Mike or Brenda regarding DES contact for us?
No, Mike's a fire up Superior right now, I found out, so I don't know if he'll be back this week or what, and I haven't talked to Brenda.
I think, it's up to you guys, but I think we need to get something done on this. The fact that we've had our first, well, actually not our first fire, but our first fire during this time, I think illustrates how important it is that we have a DES contact.
Well, that automatically goes to the sheriff, as far as I know, that the sheriff takes over.
We discussed this last week. That isn't automatic. We have a DES coordinator, and that's our liaison between a disaster and the commission. We have a deputy, and that's Mike, who is gone right now. Third in line is the sheriff, and the question is to the sheriff, does she have the time, or do we need to look at appointing somebody else in the interim? Do you guys have any thoughts on how we should proceed on this?
As far as I know, she's the second one in command on that, and it'd be up to her if she's tied with something else, she'd make the appointment, or she could contact the state. In those type of emergencies.
Elaine, do you have any thoughts?
No, I know that Brenda's on top of this fire because she was down there yesterday and did not have cell service to call us and let us know what was happening. And didn't get back until 11 o'clock last night. So I know that she's there on top of the fire.
What do you feel about assuming that she will take over the DES responsibilities?
I think we need something in writing. I don't think it's fair of us to assume anything of anybody. I think that we need to have her respond, yes, that she will do that for our protection and the protection of the people of Broadwater County.
I agree. Do you have any ideas on how we should proceed with that?
Well, I thought we were going to do a letter.
We talked about that last week. We were gonna get a hard copy to edit together and then send to both Brenda and Mike. We don't have that. I guess I have two questions. One is, do you think you could get that done this week, Franklin, or would you like somebody else to go ahead and take care of that?
Well, I get done, but it's no, we still won't do more until Mike gets here, and I'll talk to Brenda today.
And if you could get something in writing, that would be great. I think Elaine's 100% right. We need to have a chain of command established.
Well, I think it's already there, but I'll go ahead and talk with her, make sure.
I just think it's important to have it in black and white. I think we all realize that Brenda is the one in control, but just to cover our behinds, I think we need it in writing.
I agree. I think nothing good happens when you assume.
No.
All right, so
I'll contact her this afternoon.
Okay, thank
Great.
you very much for that. All right, we will take one comment and then we'll go ahead and start on our 10:45.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Tim Ravendall, in our research looking at the DES situation, on file upstairs, there is a draft copy of a duties for the deputy DES coordinator, which is listed as sheriff. That never was completed or adopted by the commission back in 2001 or 2. So that would be an easy place for you folks to pick up and maybe take that and move it forward as an official document to delineate who is number 2 in charge.
Tim, just to bring you up to speed, we have an emergency operations plan that was put together. It's a couple of binders about this thick, put together by Mike Conkey and Bill Fleiner on this, and it has actually supersedes that document from the early 2000s.
Okay.
So, but thank you for bringing that forward. All right, it is 10:45. We'll be having closing our regularly scheduled meeting and opening a public hearing Broadwater County policy for purchasing property. And we have visited this subject before. What happened is the paperwork did not make it to the correct offices, so that there was ample opportunity for the public to see the paperwork. So just to make sure we covered all bases and make sure there was nothing missed, we've re-advertised. We're having another public hearing, and if there's any new comments, we certainly will hear those. If there aren't, we could either make a decision today or postpone it by a week to take any further comments. So, Nicole.
Yes, ma'am. So, as Laura stated a few weeks ago, the planning board sent a letter to the commission regarding a policy for purchasing property in the county. Short and sweet, I'll just read you the planning board's letter as well as the policy. So this letter, it's actually more than a few weeks ago, February 19th, 2013, from the Broadwater County Planning Board to the Broadwater County Commissioners. Commissioners, the Broadwater County Planning Board had previously been asked to recommend a policy for purchasing property with county money. After some discussion, we have created the attached document for your recommendation and approval. Thank you for your consideration. Broadwater County Policy for Purchasing Property. Prior to completing any transaction to acquire real estate and/or any improvements thereon with Broadwater County funds, the Broadwater County Commissioners shall require an environmental site assessment to be completed by an entity experienced in preparing said assessment. It shall be mandatory that this entity obtain appropriate licensing and insurance. This requirement may be waived by unanimous vote of the Broadwater County Commissioners. And then there's locations for the commissioners to sign and approve it.
Any, Herb, would you want to bring up any history for this to enlighten anyone who may be new to hearing about this?
Well, it came from the request from the commission on the 24th of December. But the main thing is to try to ensure that there are no oopses when it comes to acquiring property, that the full thought process has gone through. That was the whole intent. At least that's the way I took the intent with the invitation to come up with a policy. And that's what we attempted to do, to keep it short and sweet, leave some options, but it's a reminder to all parties involved that the due diligence needs to be done, and that's part of it.
All right, thank you very much. Any public comment? Tim, we did hear from you last time, if you have any.
Tim Ravendall, I'd just like to reiterate some concerns that were brought up at the last hearing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments on this or questions? All right. From the board, any comments or questions at this point?
Well, I just bring up, the reason this come about is, for some reason, we purchased a piece of property and there was contamination, say, fuel tanks or something like that years ago. Or if it was a patent mining claim, say, and there was contaminated waste from that. That's the reason for this policy. So, not that we're gonna be in the real estate business and buying property, but it might be such a thing that, for example, a piece of ground can be bought for a fire hall to go in or something to that effect, or canister size. But that, because if you just up and get the property, the owner, then once if there is a contamination discovered, the owner is the one that's liable for the cleanup. And all this is just safeguarding it that county would be liable for some contamination that's already there. And that's up to the seller to furnish that, or it should be listed in there that the seller has to have that, I believe.
You may be able to add that to your buy-sell agreement, but
Okay.
I'm not sure of the real estate laws if it's on.
Okay, however it is, yeah. But basically, that's the reason for this.
All right, for the board, this is again our second hearing. Nothing new has been brought forward. Is it your pleasure to postpone this a week, or to move on with a vote again, as this is a repeated public hearing.
There's no other comments, I'd say we could, as long as we're within the timeframes or everything, go ahead with the policy for the resolution. Was that what you
Are we
said?
waiting for more information?
No, we had, a lot of public comment about 3 weeks ago on this, but what happened is after the meeting, it was discovered that the paperwork hadn't been given to the appropriate offices. And so anybody coming into the clerk and recorder's office looking for a copy wouldn't have gotten it. We were not aware of, we were aware of one citizen who actually did come in looking for it, so, to be on the safe side, we decided to go ahead and re-advertise, re-hold a public hearing, just to make sure that anyone who did want a copy had full opportunity to get that. It's been at the planner's office, the commissioner's office, and the clerk and recorder's office for the last 3 weeks.
That makes sense, okay.
So, what we've heard is repeat of what we had, shared, about 3 weeks ago. Nothing new has been brought forward, so we have had time to, mull over the comments. And so I guess, if this were the first hearing, I would suggest that we wait a week so that we could, you know, mull over things some more, but as this is our second hearing, it's not new information. I don't see any reason why we can't move forward, with whatever you guys would like to do.
It
We do.
sounds to me like the public has been amply notified. Is that correct?
Yes, they've had 6 weeks' notice in the legals, and, the last 3 weeks, the paperwork has been fully available. We do have one more public comment. Tim?
Madam Chair, Tim Ravendall. Last time, I guess reiterate some of the concerns, but I think one of the main ones that I'd like to bring back up today, just for the record, is the policy is in general common sense is perfect, but I'm a little concerned that the policy is very broad in general, and without any parameters on how far that can go, there could be unintended consequences with that policy. And so, just, if you do move forward, keep that in mind, please.
Thank you.
I guess, if there was purchase, the buy-sell agreement, all these things could be taken care of at that time, couldn't they?
You know, I'm not real clear on real estate law, so
Okay.
I don't wanna say yes or no on that. You know, I guess that would be up to the county at that time.
I guess-
I would assume you would have legal counsel involved as you were purchasing any piece of property, as well as realtors for both sides that might know these things. You know, this purchasing policy does have, the line that states this requirement may be waived by unanimous vote. Unanimous, since you're three, obviously, would be all three of you, would need to vote to waive this.
It's-
I think we've been on this since in February, when this was first brought up, so it's been tabled and set, so I think we should go with it.
Is that a motion?
I'll make it the motion then.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the Broadwater County policy for purchasing property. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Elaine, would you like us to stamp your signature?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Did your office have a stamp?
Debbie Kelly does.
Debbie?
Yep. right, we will close that public hearing. And the next one is actually scheduled for 11:15. Nicole or Herb, do you know of anybody else who's planning to come for the 11:15?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Since this is an extension of something that was done before, you know what, since it's a public hearing, I would like to wait till 11:15. If that is okay with you. Okay. So we will visit that here in about 15 minutes. All right, and you're welcome to stay.
I think I'll go get some work done.
Okay, thank you very
Can
much.
I leave this here? And the next?
Yeah,
only next-
absolutely. So, I have another question then for the board on another, that public hearing is officially closed, and we will resume our regular commission meeting. We are overdue for a county safety meeting. That duty was performed by DES. I certainly don't think Brenda has the time to take that on, and with Mike again being out of town. Brian Hone, Supervisor of Solid Waste, has volunteered to actually direct our next county safety meeting. Would it be okay with you guys to take him up on the offer?
I'm fine with that. I think that Brian would do a very good job for us. And knowing that everybody else is so very busy, as is Brian also, but if he's willing to do it, I'd say let him do it.
Are you okay with that as well, Frank?
Well, I don't really care, but I can't see where a week or 10 days till Mike's back would, it's gonna make any difference, because the way I understand these safety things have been kind of hit and miss all the time, so as far as time-wise, I think we're all right.
Franklin, I couldn't hear where you said that Mike is.
He's on that fire at Superior.
Oh, okay.
He's been there, well, I think a little over a week now, so I suppose he'll be there another week or 10 days.
Oh, sure.
That's why I haven't made up the memo for him yet.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
And so I'm sure that I think he was involved in these safety meetings before, and like I say, I can't see where a week, 10 days is gonna make any difference.
I guess I have two questions to that. Elaine, do you ever remember Mike Conkey being at a safety meeting?
I know that they're largely.
Not that I remember, but I won't swear to that.
I don't remember it either. I remember, it was Bill Feiner and Debbie Kelly that had taken that on. And Debbie, based on her workload, had said she would assist him, but that was the extent of what we asked her to do. So I don't remember Mike ever having a role in that particular responsibility. My other concern is, there's a fire in Superior today. What's to say that in 2 weeks' time, there isn't gonna be another fire somewhere else that will pull Mike away? He works on the DNRC team. On fires, and that is a priority for him.
You know, they can only be on so long at a time. They're mandatory, gotta come off after so many days.
For how long? If we schedule a meeting with him in 2 weeks, how long can he be off? Because what I don't think we should get into is another canceled meeting for something that we're already overdue on.
I couldn't say on that, but like I say, I can't imagine this time frame being that much, but what makes a difference to me, wanna have home do it, get her done.
Well, if there's a reason not to ask him, when he has volunteered to do it, let us know. If there isn't, I would argue, I think we're wise to go ahead and take him up on it. He does have expertise from his past positions on these issues, and we are already overdue.
Well, and I can go with Brian, and if in the meantime Mike comes back, maybe they can work together to put something together.
Does that work for you, Franklin?
Well, I don't care when they have it.
Okay, I will go ahead and talk with Brian and take him up on his offer and see when he can schedule something, and if, and we'll ask Mike to be involved if he's able, and address that officially with him when we get the letter sent to him. How's that sound?
Makes sense.
Okay with me.
All right. I think that's it. We had a question from the audience. Tim, did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, Madam Chair, just real quick, is there any requirements for training to provide that safety, training for the trainer? You know what I'm saying? Mike goes through a lot of training in his DS positions as well as, emergency management. I'm just make sure that if you go through the process with Brian, that he is qualified to provide that training. I'm guessing that you've already looked into that, but it hasn't been discussed, so I just wanted to bring that up.
Yep, thank you. All right, we have a little over 10 minutes. Did either of you have anything you wanted to bring up?
I don't.
All right. We'll be done then as soon as we have our hearing. We will have to wait for COSs at 11:45. Do we have any public comment? Cheryl?
Cheryl Campbell. I was wondering if we have received the quarterly report from MBAC on the show property and the payments for the quarter.
I would suggest checking with Doug Ellis on that.
Okay.
John?
John Wright, we started to talk about this earlier in reference to the taxes. In 2012, my son and I filed 2 tax protests on the property up there to get into the situation which we're now thrust into, this whole nasty business. Can you address why, how, and where I filed 2 separate tax protests last year as I made payments, with one, or in 2012, one with the clerk of the records, the other one with one of the officers, signed, sealed, and delivered. Now, can you give me a good reason why, after all this time, I have not had a tax protest affronted to me? I'm informed there's no such, don't even have a board, unless the commissioners handle it. Can you comment on that?
We do have a tax appeal board, John. They would hear your tax protest. As far as the rest of it, it is a district court decision.
Wrong. The tax appeal board is a total different board. You can't get the appeal ahead of the problem. Address it as I asked it.
Thank you for your comment.
No, I want an answer.
Any other public comment? Mr. Bray?
How much time do we have? Do we have 5 minutes?
We have 10 minutes.
10 minutes. I
This is
would like
Paul
to make
Bray.
a comment. My name is Paul Bray, and for the record, I want to bring a message to the county commissioners and the people here. If you want to use it, you like, and here's another one for Elaine. This is exactly what I'm going to say, so that there won't be any mistake about what I've said or my intention. I have some information that I'd like to share with you, all of you at the same time, so there will be no mistake, so all of you hear the same thing. Several of us citizens here are engaged in some sensitive negotiations with a group of people from the East Coast who are capable of granting us thousands of dollars
for the continuation of our hospital. Now, these are savvy people, capable of granting us thousands of dollars with no real consequence to them. People to whom $250,000 is a pittance. Not that they give up money, that they give no value to money, for money earns them position and respect and opportunity, among other things. These are the kind of people who can and do own a $4 million home that they use for 2 weeks out of the year for a family gathering. These folks do research on anyone to whom they are considering giving a grant. In short, they vet their prospects. They pick up their computer and they Google Montana. Then they Google Townsend, then they Google Broadwater County. They see that Montana is a very large and agricultural state. They see that Townsend is a small community with nice streets, pretty streets, trees lining the streets, storefronts that are well kept and in which reflect pride, and things are attractive and cared for. They see that the town has several large and well-tended parks. Then they Google Broadwater County. And what do they see? There's little done in the county government except a lot of bickering, lawsuits, acrimony, finger-pointing, and postponing of the simplest decision for weeks to study it and get more information. The first question they ask us is, what in the world is going on with your county government? Is someone over his head? Everything about your county seems so negative. Folks, this has a direct impact on their decision. These folks are from the East Coast, from Maine, from Rhode Island, from Maryland, from Washington, D.C., from New York. Today's technology and availability, we folks are in a giant fishbowl of almost unimaginable proportions. Do these folks see the wonderful strides that we've made in getting our hospital and health care back up to speed and running? No. Do they see that we have struggled with our jail and gotten it out of financial trouble and out of the doldrums? Got it back on track? No. Do they see all of the positive things our county accomplishes? Sadly, no. They see only the negatives and the problems we are causing for ourselves. Would you, as individuals, I ask the county commissioners, want to invest money in this county? And because I don't believe in criticism without proffering a positive solution, may I suggest, let's start by treating one another with the respect that we deserve. Let's work towards solving problems rather than creating them. Let's remember that you each, severally and together, represent all of the people of Broadwater County and work in their best interest. Let's get rid of all the negativity and settle the lawsuits, either through the courts or withdraw them, or let's let them die for lack of action. Remember that your actions are exposed to the world, not just Broadwater County, to the world, and begin to act accordingly. Let's take pride in our county. Let's let the world know how proud we are of it. And please, quickly, on Wednesday, when I meet again with the representative for this group, let me be able to say with pride, we are making progress. There are copies of this for anyone who might want them.
Thank you, Paul.
I would ask that that be mailed to my home so I can see it quicker.
I'll have it sent out today for you, Elaine. I'm not gonna take any more public comment for a while. This needs to sit. All right, thank you very much. 11:15, we will close our regular meeting and start a public hearing, adopt by resolution procedure for the creation and administration of RID, Road Improvement District, or Rural Improvement District. Nicole Brown.
I'm not going to read this aloud because it's a very lengthy document, well, not terribly lengthy, I think it's about 11 pages, 12 pages. What this is a process for the county to follow, as well as citizens that want to create a rural improvement district. A rural improvement district being, maybe they want some road maintenance done on a road, or, for example, River Road. They wanted some mag chloride put down, which is not part of the normal county process, to apply magnesium chloride to the road for dust abatement. Which I guess you're right, it's not magnesium chloride, it's dust abatement. Road stabilizer.
Road stabilization.
That's what they're using, I'm sorry. In any case, this is a procedure, so when you know, folks come in, citizens come in and they want to know what do they have to do to create a rural improvement district, I can give them this. They have something to take away instead of me, you know, kind of rambling on, telling them what they have to do, steps 1 through 10. They can take it home, they can look it over, they can talk with their neighbors. Included in this document are the petition pages, a location for maps, and a location for the commissioners to sign as well, and basically, so it's an all-inclusive document, so it's 11 pages, but I think 4 pages of it are forms for the citizens to complete. So this is simply just a procedure. This is all taken from Montana Code Annotated. This has been vetted by Attorney Bossy, Mako attorney Susan Swimley, and Mako attorney Tara Depew. So we've had 3 attorneys look it over, provide their input before it was even made public. So, and I still have copies of this if anyone would like to take one with them, if this is something that you may be interested in.
And we should add, this was also addressed 3 weeks ago, same story, just didn't make it to the correct office, so that there was ample opportunity for the citizens. We did mail a couple of copies to people who requested them, and we have heard public comment on this document about 3 weeks ago. So, are there any further comments, questions regarding the procedure manual regarding RIDs for the county? And Tim, you did make comment last time, but you're certainly welcome to do so again.
Madam Chair, Tim Ravendall, I reiterate my concerns that as you put this process forward for an RID, that you have some sort of policy or formal process afforded also for your friendly neighborhood program that was used in Radersburg as an option for these folks, and I was asked to have that more clearly defined in the policy. I'd like to know if it's in there in a more clearly defined section in the policy, or if it's going to be separate and be provided to the citizens at the same time.
Thank
Do
you.
you care if I respond to that?
I appreciate it, yes.
So what Tim is referring to, the Raidersburg citizens got together at a public meeting. It just happened to be at a public meeting, but the citizens got together and realized that they wanted to provide some road stabilizer to their road as well. They all got together, wrote checks, handed them over to the county. The difference with an RID is that the county is completely involved. The county is taking those folks' money and administering and we're not even taking the checks, we're taking it through taxes. They would come in, they would sign the petition. As long as 60% of the landowners of the RID area agreed, the petition can move forward. It doesn't have to move forward, but it can move forward at 60%. The money is taken from taxes, the money then goes to the appropriate department if it's a county department. In this case, it's road. So the Friendly Neighborhood Program is a little bit different than an RID in that it's not coming out of taxes. Those folks got together, saw that there was a need, wrote their checks. Tim is disagreeing with me in that the county did decide that they would pay for half of it. So it's not included in this RID process because it's not an RID. I think that this Friendly Neighborhood Program, or whatever it is that you would like to refer to it as, should be separate from the RID because the RID is absolutely laid out in Montana Code Annotated, and I don't want to confuse it with any other program. So I did not add it to this. I would urge the commission to not add it to this document. Obviously, it's at your pleasure, but those are my reasons for not wanting it included in the RID because I don't want them to commingle.
And certainly, if a citizen came to you and said, what are my options? At that point, you could provide this procedure to them and also say, you can do this, this, or this, or come up with your own plan and propose it.
And they can certainly come to the commission and request the same thing as the Raidersburg folks did. The commission has created some criteria that these neighborhood programs, which I think we should come up with a better name for them than that, but that they would have to fit. They would have to fit a certain criteria before the county could consider it, and we have that established. So. But I do not want it in this document, and that's my public comment.
Well, and its title is Resolution Procedure, or a Procedure for the Creation and Administration of RID.
Correct.
So I hear that. Paul?
I just have a question. My name is Paul Bray. Is there any provision in here for, and does there need to be one, for this kind of work in a neighborhood where there are several different homeowners associations or several different developments?
No, in fact, and I apologize, do you mind if I respond to
No.
Paul's question? No, because this is not solely affiliated with subdivisions. It could be on a county road, it could be on a subdivision road. It would be up to the commission to look at each one of these projects individually and determine how they want to proceed. So I assume you're considering your case where you have 3 or 4, 5 different subdivisions in an area. It's not a homeowners association issue, it's an individual homeowner issue. So not association, just homeowner or property owner.
Okay, so every individual would have to be contacted.
Correct.
But you wouldn't be prohibited from doing it as 5 different homeowners associations if you fit the criteria.
Right.
Tim?
Just to follow up, I respectfully agree that it could and probably should be a separate issue with the neighborhood program. And you mentioned that there is information on record for going through that process. And I would ask where that's at, because when the program that was initiated in Raidersburg took place, there was folks that just wrote out individual checks, and then they were handed to the clerk and recorder to deposit, and there wasn't even an invoice or a program or a fund established to deal with that. And because there were county tax dollars going in on the share, I'd like to know if there is not a formal procedure or process filed with the county for that neighborhood program, then that's what I'm seeking, so that when citizens come in looking for options, here's our RID policy process, or here is another option, and these are the processes that is followed in order to make that happen. That way, the county has both ends covered. And you can leave that third option of whatever, open if there is a third option. That's my point, and I hope you consider having something on file, because to my knowledge right now, there isn't anything.
And you're correct, there's nothing on file. What I was addressing was the criteria. It was addressed at a public commission meeting, and I'll have to go back, I don't recall the date, where there was just a discussion
A discussion.
about criteria for an RID or a neighborhood program.
And my point is to have something formal so that the citizens have something to look at, so it's not he said, she said. Thank
And
you.
I can work on drafting something if the commission, would direct me to do so for the neighborhood program, separate from this RID, but I think that's a whole separate issue than what we're looking at here. They're similar, but separate issues.
Thank you very much, thank you for your comment, and a fund was set up for that,
And they have been invoiced, I guess, to
Yeah.
add to that.
absolutely. Joan,
Is
and
there,
don't forget to state your name.
Joan Hill, is there any way that the speed limits on gravel roads can be enforced for the whole county?
We should actually address that probably during public comment, since it is off topic of this particular hearing, but if you'll hold that thought, we'll go ahead and address it in a few minutes.
Okay?
Anything else on, creating an RID procedure document? Anything from the board, Wayne or Franklin?
Well, actually, if you don't want to attach that, some procedure with that, but you should get it drawn up, and whenever anybody comes for this, give them both the one you have and the other one then, so they have everything at the one time.
And so, if you would like me to create that, I would have to go through the same procedure as this, because I certainly wouldn't want to just throw something out there and say, hey, I think this is how we should do it. I'll go through the same process as we did with this RID creation. I'll make sure that I run it through all three attorneys, and then I'll turn it over to the commission to hold the public hearing. So we're looking at probably 2 months at best before it can be adopted, but I'll do my best to get that drafted this week and get it into the attorney's hands.
That's probably the best way to have it, I think.
So it won't, if the commission chooses to act on this today, that neighborhood program won't be available as an actual policy until it goes through the proper channels.
Here's my hesitation with that, is the neighborhood plan, and I agree with you, it needs a better name, but none of this has been commission driven or government driven, all of it has been citizen driven. The folks on River Road came to the commission and said, hey, help us out. We had a series of meetings and we hashed out all the different alternatives, made up some, and came up with an RID, an official RID where the money's coming out of their taxes now for 2 years. Same thing happened with the folks in Raidersburg. They called us and said, hey, this is what we want, how do we do it? Same thing, we had a public meeting, and kind of hashed through what an RID looks like. They're the ones who came up with the plan to have some people pay what they could, which ended up being a couple $100, and other people paying what they could, which ended up being 5 to 10. My hesitation with putting a structured neighborhood plan together is I think it stifles citizens from putting together something that works for them. I think it's more important to solidify the criteria, and one of the things that we've said from the beginning of this is this we have to work through our road supervisor. He has been involved with setting the criteria, maybe solidifying a document with criteria, and then letting the citizens have an idea that they can go ahead and develop a plan that works for them and their neighborhood, versus putting something that was a creative result into something that is a hard hard line document. So I guess that would be my only thought. Paul?
Yes, Paul Bray, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I think it would be well if citizens could be notified or could be told, if this information could be disseminated so that people knew it existed, knew that this possibility existed.
Absolutely, good point. Tim?
Just one follow-up, Madam Chair. Tim Ravendall. Again, I think the purpose of this is not to diminish the rights of citizens, but it's actually to give them an official option other than an RID, and making that in respect to making sure that the county not only has a legal foundation to do such a program, but also provides the citizens of the whole county accountability on what's going on with those types of programs. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Nicole, isn't there a sentence in the document that says something along the lines that there are other options? I remember that from a couple of weeks ago, and I don't remember exactly what the wording was.
You know, there could be.
Well, like you said, they're gonna ask you always what the other options are, and that's why I think you have another procedure there. You already have it ready for them.
Right. There is a statement in here that states the board, and in this document it's referring to the Board of Commission. The board, in its discretion, may pay the whole or any part of the cost of any RID out of any funds that are available to it for that purpose, or to include the whole or any part of the costs within the amount of the assessment to be paid by the benefited property in the district. I guess if I was a homeowner reading this, that might kind of raise a little flag for me to ask a question that, hey, what does this mean? You know, if the board is willing to pay a part of it, what does that mean? What do I have to do to be privy to that, you know, to get the board to pay a part of it? I tend to agree with Laura in that if we were to just simply establish the criteria, if we were to put together that list in a formal document, you know, I have it just in a Word document, but it's never been adopted per se by the commission as criteria, because we've never come this far with the program or with the process. But essentially, you know, if it's a bus route, if it's a mail route, if it's a county road that is heavily traveled, those are some of the criteria that we've put together but not adopted. So maybe if we were to adopt some criteria as to how the commission could then look at this as an option of a neighborhood plan. You know, I agree with Tim in that it's nice for the folks to know when they come in. I don't say, hey, here you go, this is your only option, this is all you can do. Very similar to subdivision. You know, not to get off subject, but when people come to my office and say, hey, you know, I wanna do a subdivision, I wanna give my son a piece of my ground. I don't just give them the subdivision regulations, because there are other options. I don't have them put together as a procedure, it's state law, to say, hey, you can do a family transfer if you're legitimately giving it to your child. So what I'm getting at is that not everything we do is put together in a document in black and white to pass out to the public and say, you know, it takes a lot of communication and due diligence on the person's part to come in and visit with me and let's talk about some things. I certainly wouldn't withhold that information from someone if they were to come in and say, okay, well, I want to do this on a road. I would certainly give them that option. I would never withhold it and just make them go away with this document. I understand that it's not the same as having it printed in black and white, but if we're going to keep it a neighborhood plan, I think we should keep it in the hands of the citizens. I don't think that the county should be administering and telling them how to do everything, because what if they step outside of the parameters of our neighborhood plan that we've adopted? Then do we have to create a whole nother plan for that, to fit that? I'm not sure that that's the direction the commission would want to go, but if we have this criteria, if folks come in and say, you know, I live on this road, this is what I want to do, we can have a conversation about it. I guess, you know, we're still human, we can speak freely and have these conversations with people and say, these are your options. You might not want to take the hardline route of just doing this. You do have this option to come before the commission and request this.
That's why I say have those options there, so, you know, when they come.
But not necessarily in an actual document. Because if it's in a document, they have to follow that exactly. If they don't follow that exactly, then do we have to create another document or another policy for what this other neighborhood is doing? I mean, every neighborhood is going to be different, every
Correct.
situation is different, nothing is the same.
But as long as they knew they had these options,
Right,
and like you say, that most time they ask you that anyway.
right. I would hope that they would take the time to come, to me or, to anybody in the county, to have that conversation.
All right, one more comment it looked like from the audience?
One last time, Tim Ravendall, I understand you wanting to maintain that good neighbor program in a good neighbor fashion, but on the same token, looking at how this evolved to the Radersburg project and the precedence that was set there, again, concerned that without having something in black and white or formal process, I see potential. Many other people have looked at potential to say, well, we'll tweak that a little bit over here and we'll have another process that we can follow and another one over here. And so like Nicole just mentioned, if we don't put some parameters on this and have a process, then eventually with an open-end book, this could go anywhere, and I think it's important to put that parameters on the neighbor program so that folks come in, and if they qualify, then they certainly can go that route. And they don't have to lock into an RID taxable process, or they can go with the RID. Again, if you take a formal process, then nobody has to ask questions or push the line.
So what I'm thinking though, Tim, and what it sounds like I think we're talking about the same thing, maybe just in different terms. Not having an actual process, but having criteria for the Good Neighbor program. Having criteria that says if you meet one or all of this, I'm not sure how the commission would like to look at it, but then you're free to come to the commission and request this. It would always have to be a process that comes before the commission. The commission can say, you know what, it looks great, we just don't have the funds this time, or we don't agree that it meets the criteria.
Absolutely, because
But
right now
at least
there is no criteria.
There is no criteria. There's a Word document that's never been adopted. So what I'm thinking is to actually formally push this criteria onto the commissioner's table for them to hold the public hearing, and again, in 3 more weeks, hold the public hearing and then adopt it either at that time or the next week after on the criteria, but not a Good Neighbor program necessarily, because then the program can have some flexibility, but the criteria stays the same.
Well, I will respectfully agree, a criteria policy, white paper, if you will, whatever you want to call it, would be a good starting point, because again, you mentioned a Word document that's out, and I'm not sure even when that was created, because I haven't really seen that.
It's on my computer.
And so, we got to come up with something, and again, it boils down to the legal parameters and also accountability, and that's what I'm just wanting to make sure that the county commission takes a real close look at before moving forward. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Certainly. Any further comments from the board? Elaine, do you have any?
I think Elaine went to sleep.
We may have lost her. Elaine, are you with us?
Potty
Okay.
break. Potty break.
All right, any other comments?
Didn't mean to bore you up.
All right, Franklin, what would you like to do at this point regarding the procedure for creation and administration of RID?
Well, I think what Nicole has there, but also have these other options available when they come.
So.
Or the criteria, whichever, however you wanna work it out.
Let's do the criteria second. Do you want to postpone a vote on the adoption of the RID process, or do you want to go ahead and vote on that at this time, since we have had public comment and it has been noticed now for a total of about 6 weeks?
Well, I think we could vote on it, and get that off the table,
Okay,
so I'll make it. You gonna try to get, I'll make a motion to that effect.
okay. Elaine, are you with us?
Yeah, I couldn't hear what Franklin said.
Franklin went ahead and made a motion that we adopt the procedure for the creation and administration of a rural improvement district, RID.
Okay. I'll second that motion then.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adopt by resolution procedure for the creation and administration of a rural improvement district, RID. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, and then the second half, that concludes our public hearing, and we will now return to our regularly scheduled Broadwater County meeting. So the second half is, do we all agree to asking Nicole to document, or to write up another document on the criteria to formalize a process for establishing RIDs or working with citizens who request assistance with road stabilization?
I think that would be a very good idea.
Franklin, you've already stated you think that's a good idea as well.
Is that her motion, or?
Do you think you could have that done also by August 12th?
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
And I know you already have it in Word, could you have it available by Thursday, so when the newspaper comes out, we could have it in the 3 offices?
Certainly.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess that would be wise at this point to have a motion on this,
Also move.
okay?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to ask Nicole to draft a criteria document for establishing road stabilization per public requests. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right. Thank you.
So, would you like this to be a public hearing, this criteria? Or would you simply like it to be something the commission votes on?
I would like to call it myself a public discussion.
Okay,
I
so
think that's a little bit more appropriate.
I will not post it in the paper as a public hearing. I will not post a separate legal notice, it'll just be on the commission agenda.
I think that'd be fine. Well, how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay,
Elaine, any opposition?
No.
Okay, all right.
so I'll have it available, Thursday. I'll have it in the clerk and recorder's office, commission office, and my office.
Thank you very much. Would you also send a copy to Dana, just so that he's aware? He's already got it, but just so he's aware as an additional notice.
Certainly. Great.
All right, anything else from the planning world?
I think we got it all covered today.
All right, thank you
I don't
very
think I have
much. This
anything
has
else.
kind of been your meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicole.
And thanks for moving my afternoon to the morning. It's nice to get it all done.
Nicole,
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Can I have a copy of this, please?
Yep. Yeah, I'll get it. Yep, I'll post the date on it and I'll have, did anyone have a copy? And I'll just have them ready. I'll have it ready for you, Paul.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, it is 11:40. We do have a public comment that was brought forward by Joan Hill. Can I repeat that for the record?
I was wondering, legally, can you put 35 or 45-mile-an-hour speed limits on all gravel roads in the county?
I suppose that we could. I'm not thinking that the commission would want to do that. It's more appropriate, I guess I'm just gonna speak for myself at this point, and it's been the practice of this commission in the past, but I believe it's more appropriate that citizens who live on a particular county road determine for themselves what they would like that speed limit to be and actually pursue that process with the commission. We had a hearing earlier this morning regarding a, quarter circle road. And the citizens got together and they started with a discussion, do we want it at 25 or 35? They decided on 35. I think that is a whole lot better for a neighborhood to decide for themselves. If we did something countywide, we're dictating to the citizens what their county roads shall be, and I just don't think that's right. I think it's a whole lot better for everybody when the citizens come to us and say, we would like you to change this for us on our behalf. So, I guess, if Elaine or Franklin, do you have anything, that you'd like to add or subtract from what I?
No, I think it's important that the people tell us what they want, not us tell them what they want.
Thank you. Does that help, Joan?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we are almost at 11:45. COS review. Do you have a COS for us?
I do not, but I have relating to that.
Okay, come on up. The floor is
And
yours.
I
This is
believe-
Bernadette Swenson.
Nicole is going to come in also. But, yeah, she is.
We can wait for her if you like. She just left.
Yeah,
You
she
might
had
have
to
seen her.
make copies.
Okay.
I can wait for her. It has, or I can put my words out there. As far as COS reviews, I know it's a busy time for surveyors because, you know, we're busy. But reviewing is taking longer and longer and longer. It's been, the last two have been a month, and we have one now that's going on 5 weeks. And it really halts us up when, after we do a job, you know, we send it to the review, and it's taking a month or longer. And I know the contract is up, so, you know, I'm just encouraging that to kind of proceed. And nothing against Jake or WWC. It's just, I know it's the busy time, he's out of state, so Broadwater County just kind of gets shoved on a waiting list.
There's a time frame within our contract, is there not?
I don't believe officially.
Okay.
They were going to try and keep it at 10 days. But it's been like the last 6, one of them was within 10 days. The others were 21, this is business days. 21, 23, 17, 15, and on this one right now, we're at 20 right now. And we still haven't got it back. So I won't be able to give it to you till next week, so that's gonna put it at 25, which will be 5 weeks. And meanwhile, the clients are waiting. I know the job before was very upset at the county, which it's not really the county's problem or fault, because their hands are tied. But, you know, when I tell them, well, it's still in county review, they call Nicole, and that's why she was going to be in. She's answering to them, saying it's beyond out of my hands too. So we're just kind of at the mercy of waiting for these to come back. I think it's very frustrating.
Sure, sure.
So I just
Yes.
encourage maybe I know there's 2 retired surveyors here in Townsend. Both of them are interested in the position. And not that they would get it, but, you know, that might help as far as timeframes and stuff.
Yeah.
But, and like I said, I just believe Nicole just wanted to comment that, you know, it looks bad at the county level on her end, but her hands are tied also.
Sure, and people who have issues come to the county. Nicole, would you come on up?
Yes, ma'am.
I understand you have some comments also on this issue.
Well, you know, basically, there've been quite a few of these COSs, I hate to bump in on the end of your conversation here, but, that have taken some time, a considerable amount of time, actually. There's one in particular, I think we're going on 6 weeks? 5 weeks now, and we still haven't heard back. You know, it's difficult for the county, it's very difficult for the surveyors, and it's not just Bernadette. Bernadette just happens to be the only one that's come in, but I've heard it. And what happens is these people call, the owners of the survey call and say, what's taking the county so long? And I have to apologize and say, I'm really sorry, it's our contracted examining land surveyor, you know, he's very busy. But basically, it's putting the county in a very bad position and putting us in a very bad light. That it's the county that's holding up the process. I had one, we're still working on it with Graymont, so it's a fairly large transaction. I heard from several folks, what's going on with the county? You know, one person even you know had called me and said, hey, you know, they're blaming me personally, and I have to say, I'm really sorry. I'm not reviewing these. I'm pushing it around as quickly as I can. So it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with folks. I also do not want to personally be blamed for holding up this process. I understand that you can't change everyone's opinion, but at least if we can really, you know, move forward on this process with the examining land surveyor. You know, Jake is so busy, and it's becoming increasingly difficult, I guess, to get these things done. So I know that WWC has put together a document, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen the document, so I don't know if they have it all lumped into one position. I would like the commission to, they don't, oh good, okay. I would like the commission to, as quickly as possible, I guess, move forward on this, because it's frustrating, quite frankly, to have to feel like the one that's holding up the process.
Sure. If it were the exception, that something like the Graymont that's very big and cumbersome takes that long, then you can kind of understand it, but it doesn't sound like it's the exception, but.
No, and that was just a boundary location. I mean, they're not, you know, difficult or large surveys. They're, you know, simple ones that.
Just moving a boundary line, and, you know, Sean Higley of WWC was in, oh gosh, maybe even a year ago, and said, you know, we're sorry, we've had a backlog, you know, well, it won't happen again, we've hired a new surveyor. It hasn't changed anything, I guess, and I hate to come in and complain to the commission, but we need to do something, because it's very frustrating. Like I said, Bernadette's not the only surveyor. You know, other surveyors have said, gosh, what's going on? Why are these taking so long? Why is this such a long process? I'm sorry, this is just our process. This is just how we do it. I can't even tell folks anymore that 2 weeks, even though that's our policy, is 2 weeks, a 2-week turnaround time period. And I have to tell them to maybe expect them, just so that they're prepared for that. And I don't like that. I don't like to have to tell people that they have to hold their business because we're taking some time.
No.
Why can't we enforce that 10-day or 12-day, and if nothing's been done, it just automatically moves ahead?
I would like to. However, the examining land surveyor has to sign that survey. That's a procedure that the county put in place several years ago, that the examining land surveyor has to sign that survey. I can imagine that they would want to sign it after not reviewing it. So, you know, we've tried, you know, I'm very vocal with, you know, phone calls and emails to our examining land surveyor, also to his supervisor. And it feels like there's a lot of them, and I know they're busy, you know, they do a great job. I'm not at all blaming the person. It just seems like Broadwater County might be getting put on the back burner because we're not a huge money maker for them. But just because they're not important to them, they're still important to us, and they're important to the folks that are doing the work, so. I'm trying to get their land transactions completed.
Nicole, you have a 145 today that's open.
Mm-hmm.
Could we work on that maybe today and get something out in the paper today?
Certainly, yep,
Okay.
I'd be willing to do whatever.
All right,
we have to.
we've already discussed this as a commission, so it's just a matter of dotting some Ts and dotting some Is.
Okay.
Okay.
And so I don't have the information that WWC put together. So, as far as my 145 today, I don't have anything to bring forward to you. Are you thinking discussion?
I was thinking I'd just pop into your office and you and I
Perfect.
could hash something
Okay.
out together.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good, and then I can bring it in to present to the commissioners at 1:45.
Yeah, we've already voted on, or
Okay.
we've already discussed it, it doesn't need a vote at this time, cause all we're gonna do is put out an RFP.
In the paper, okay.
Yeah, so, if we could actually just put some language in there, we could get it advertised starting this Thursday and
Okay,
see what happens from that, and then go from there, and then at that point, we'd have something to vote on.
super. Okay.
If that works okay for the rest of the board,
Fine by me.
okay?
Great.
So, all right, and if you're free before then, I might even stop in then, so.
Sure.
But I didn't want to interrupt if you had an appointment. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Thanks, Bernadette.
Oh, thank you for
Thank
the
you.
consideration. Don't like to complain, but it just puts a halt to our business, and a lot of people don't wanna pay till it's done. And so, I mean, it stagnates everything in the office on a holding pattern.
Sure, yeah, and, you know, it is just an agreement, but that's a good agreement, 10 days should be about reasonable.
And, yeah, well, nothing about their work or anything, I know this is the busy season for surveyors, and we all run around.
Sure,
Thank
the
you,
nature of the business.
thank you.
Thanks very much. All right, we have reached the point of official public comment. Any official, or, well, we've had some already, but any more official public comment? And this is Bob Brastrup.
For the record, I'm Bob Brastrup. You know, over the years, and at one time I counted it up, and I don't remember now because my memory is kind of fading into the cobwebs, but I worked with somewhere between 100 and 150 commissioners during my period of time. The most outstanding group of commissioners that I ever worked with were not elected to their first meeting. Due to end of life and incapacitating medical issues, all three had been appointed. Two women, one man, 2 Democrats, 1 Republican. They had I never heard one of them be critical of any one of the others. I had a lot of meetings with them together, individually. It was the most positive group of people I've ever been around. It was fun to work with them. When they came down and requested something be done, I knew that all 3 of them would be on board whether they agreed or not. They all went out and put forth a public persona on them that they all agreed. And they all worked just as hard for it as if it was their own idea. There was no ego. They asked me to do some things a time or two that I was real nervous about. I wasn't sure how the public would react, but they were behind it. We did it, and it worked well. They also had a luxury of being able to work in meetings without a fan club. And I know that with the 3 of them. They didn't always agree on anything, but they had the luxury of being able to work amongst themselves, discuss stuff, come up with a plan and an idea, and they all went out and worked on it. We need to have something like that go on here. And like Mr. Bray, you can't criticize things without having a plan or a suggestion. So I'll start, Commissioner Slifka. You have the power on this one. I don't know much about the law, but I know what lawyers tell one another. And as long as you have this lawsuit that you have against the other 2 commissioners, there's no way that you can discuss things concerning that particular lawsuit. I'm sure that the lawyers are telling the other two commissioners, you can't discuss it. Drop your lawsuit. The second thing, it would be nice if we had a couple of months without the commissioner, one commissioner viewpoint column. It's kind of agitating most of the time. Does not promote cooperation and working together. And the third thing, and I don't know how you do it, because you certainly can't tell us, because that would be trampling on our rights, and I can hear people screaming about what I'm gonna suggest. But somehow or another, you guys, all three of you, need to suggest that your fan club stays away from these meetings for a month or so, and let you guys get a chance to work together and discuss things and come together and become friendly. That's my request. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one comment. Thank you, Bob. It's been needed to be said for a long time. I couldn't agree more that we need to work together for the people of Broadwater County.
And in no way, thank you, Elaine, but in no way do I want to have my remarks interpreted as a defense of any of the commissioners.
No.
And any other public comment? Tim?
Madam Chair, Tim Ravendall, you mentioned earlier that you have a couple of binders that have been, I'll say discovered or pulled out regarding DES here in the county. I would like to have access to those, to look at them if I could, possibly this afternoon.
Yep, they haven't been discovered, Tim. They were worked on extensively over the last couple of years, and they are available for public use, review, reading, whatever you would like in the clerk recorder's office.
They're at, okay, thank you.
At any time. At any time the courthouse is open. Any other public comment? All right. Anything else for the good of the order from the board? Elaine, anything from you?
No, thank you.
Okay. Last call for public comment? All right, it is almost 1 minute to noon and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Do I understand there's no afternoon session?
Oh, yes, thank you, Paul. We took care of all our business for this afternoon, this morning, so that actually concludes today's meeting.